Hey there, this is our third video for the first unit basic geometry, and today we're going to talk about concept number 3, which is distance. Just as a review, let's talk about points in the coordinate plane. Points in the coordinate plane are always located using an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. Remember that the x-coordinate goes from left to right, and the y goes down and up. So if we were to find the coordinates of this point here in red, we would start at the origin, count over 1, 2, 3, so the x-coordinate is 3. And we'd count down 2, 1, 2, down is negative, so the y value is negative 2. This is just a review. Always x is first, then y. So now to talk about distance, we're going to talk about a formula. Distance is how far two things are apart. We're going to talk about the distance between points. We'll also talk about the length of segments. Distance and length are the same, so we can use the distance formula to find a length as well as a distance. We're going to use this formula down here. D represents distance. The x's and the y's both come from coordinates of 2 points. And these 2 and 1, they're subscripts of x, subscripts of y. They're just labels. It doesn't mean to multiply x by 2 or y by 2 or x by 1 or y by 1. They're just labels. x1 and y1 come from a point, and x2 and y2 come from the same point. So there's x1, y1 labeling point 1, and x2, y2 labeling point 2, and I got rid of our point, so let me get it back. So if you want to find the distance between these 2 points, you can plug them into this formula, and that's how we get the distance formula. So let's see that in practice. If I want to find the distance between these 2 points, u and v, I can use the distance formula, as I said. I'm going to round to the nearest tenth at the end of this, and always round to whatever the directions ask. So the first thing you should always write when using any formula is to actually write the formula. So again, the more you write it, the better you'll commit it to memory. So if you write it every time, you'll remember it without fail. So we'll write the distance formula, and now we'll label both of our points. I'm going to make one x1, y1. I'm going to make the other one x2, y2. It doesn't matter which one you make which. This way I know that the x1 has a value of -7, y1 has a value of 5, x2 has a value of 4, and y2 has a value of -3. Now this problem becomes a plug and chug, as I like to call it. We plug in the numbers where they belong in the formula, and then we simplify. So I've color-coded the numbers. The green numbers come from the x2, y2, and they go exactly where x2 and y2 are in the formula. I always plug negative values in using parentheses. The red numbers come from x1, y1, and we plug them in to where they go in the formula, and now we can start simplifying. Be sure to always write the square root symbol as we go through this until the very end, when you actually take the square root of the number. Okay, it's important to notice that anytime we have a negative value in here, once we square it, it should become a positive. -8 squared is positive 64. And finally, we can take the square root of 185, which when rounded to the nearest tenth is 13.6. We're always going to highlight or box in our answer. I'll highlight. So the distance between u and v is 13.6. That also means that the length of segment UV is 13.6. So as in the other videos, I want you to pause now and try this example on your own. Feel free to use your notes and use the distance formula. Make sure you write the formula at the beginning. Write it every single time. So as I said, I wrote the formula at the beginning, and now I can plug in my values for x1, y1 and x2, y2 straight into the formula, and I can simplify Remember again that a negative number squared becomes a positive number, so this should be plus 225. And I did say to round to the nearest tenth, you should get 15.8. So that means the distance between S and R is 15.8. We can also say that the length of segment SR is 15.8. They both mean the same thing. Again, I want you to pause the video. I want you to find the length of segment XY in the graph. I put the line over top here because I'm talking about segment XY. I've used the word length. If I just wrote XY, that would tell you the same thing. Find the length of segment XY. As a hint, you should start by finding the coordinates for X and Y. Pause the video and try the example. Then press play and I will give you the answer. So you should have found the coordinates for X and Y. And we'll also label them X1, Y1, X2, Y2. To find the length, we use the distance formula. The distance formula gives us the distance between 2 points or the length of a segment. They're the same thing. We can plug in like we did in the last two problems and then simplify to get the answer. So the length of segment XY to the nearest tenth is approximately 15.3. And again, we'll box or highlight or circle our answer, and I can highlight. You should try these two problems. You can type your answers in online. You can either copy this link into your web browser, or you can click this link in the comments below. All you need to do is enter the numeric answer for both of them, and notice I say here for number 2, round to the nearest tenth. So if you put in an answer that is not rounded properly to the nearest tenth, it's going to shoot back to you that it's incorrect. So this just might be a rounding error. Make sure to double check.